Buy the AMD card. The NVIDIA is 100% trash, and thank y'all. Okay, so this is a re-upload, and I'm actually redoing just me going over benchmarks. There's two reasons. There was one error in the benchmark. Honestly, it wasn't a very big error, but still an error. And when I catch it, I like to, notify you guys. And to be honest, the video hasn't had a lot of views yet. It had less than 100 when I caught it, so I figure it won't, make or break anything. So the test batch is still the same though, so I didn't really rerun anything. I just noticed one error and I fixed in my formula. When I fixed it, then I got the right results. So just reiterate the test bench. We have the 5900X Precision Boost Overdrive, 3600 megahertz CL18 memory, 850 watt E plus gold power supply. Pretty, straightforward here. Couple testing notes. GPU boost was enabled by default. I did turn the sliders up, but that didn't actually change the performance. These are my fan curves, straightforward, just what I typically run. The secondary monitor is 1440p non-ultra wide, but that is running. And here is the list of the programs and just notes in general about the run. Now, looking from the top and going all the way down, we'll talk about where I made the error in this chart. We're going to start with F1 2018, which was an 11 FPS win, or 10 FPS win, excuse me, for AMD. Forza Horizon 4 was a 16 FPS, so a pretty decent margin there. The Division 2 was a win for AMD, and that one actually confuses me, you'll see on the next chart. Superposition, slight win for NVIDIA as well. However, Watch Dogs Legion, come back to AMD for that. 3D Mark Time Spy, that's where my error was. So I had 125 to 134. It was actually 135 to 134 at 1080p ultra wide. So that's actually where the error was in my formula. And then Assassin's Creed Valhalla. This test I reran, I verified. I've actually run now on two 3080s since I now have another 30, which, stay tuned, the 3080 Tough will be reviewed. And spoiler alert, something that you guys had flamed me in the previous comments about will be in that testing, and I'll tell you guys here at the end. But when I looked up, the 6800 just even wipes the floor with the 3090, so I realized that, yeah, just not NVIDIA's game in particular. Now, moving on to 1440p, and this is where it matters because now we're going to higher resolution, where the higher, the faster memory speed, the wider bus definitely favors NVIDIA normally. However, we still have a 10 FPS lead in Forza Horizon 4. Actually, no, that was actually 16. It went down to 10 rather. The lead for F1 dropped by about 5, but still the lead for AMD. In Division 2, AMD actually gets back the lead, and this one I don't understand. I reran this off two cards and two 3080s and my card, and they're pretty much giving the same results. Superposition still in favor of NVIDIA. Watch Dogs Legion is a little bit closer, only 5 FPS difference. 3D Mark Time Spy, AMD does actually win this one out. And then Assassin's Creed Valhalla, again, a very big victory. 14 FPS, 71 versus 85. As we mentioned, that's an AMD optimized game. So the next part, and I want to go to conclusion because I want to make this a little faster, is power and temp. And this is interesting. So my Tai Chi has 3 power, 3 8-pins, and total system power was 539. GPU was 307, and temp was around 75. Okay, no big deal. That's not a lot of system power considering what I'm throwing at it. A 200 watt CPU, and this was under F1 2018. That will pull the most out of my system because it pulls a lot of CPU draw. I can hit 180, 190 watts. And the GPU's draw is going to be, in the higher echelon as well. But the 3080 pulled a lot more. My system power went up by almost 100. The GPU power went up by almost 80. Thermals were fine, so that's good. And they both have 3 PCI Express connectors. So I don't really know why. Like, I took the slider down normal. It was still pulling almost 400 watts. I actually had 425, but I never repeated that. The highest I got was consistently in the upper 380s, around 390. And I will give you one spoiler. My wife's 3080 Tough that has 2 power connectors has a higher power consumption than my this card as well. So do keep that in mind. So I was going to go over frequency. Basically, the 3080 topped out at, I think it was 1965. Yeah, 1965. And then on the memory, it was 1189. The reason why I didn't show is because the cards report differently. So long story short, 19 gigabits per second, 16 gigabits per second for this card. This card has 400 megahertz, actually 450 megahertz faster core clock speed, so that is do something, I guess that's important. So conclusion. Buy the AMD card. The NVIDIA is 100% trash, and thank y'all. No, I'm kidding. That's not the case. So my wife now has a 3080 TUF. So the Strix is gone. I already got offloaded that, and I exchanged for a TUF and got a good deal. So I'm gonna permanently have the 6800 XT and the 3080 TUF. If the 3080 TUF was not a good card, I would not have bought it for my wife. I would have found a way to get a 6800 XT, no doubt about it. The problem that I have is at any given time, you could be spending a few $100s one way or another on one of these cards. So this, after it's all said and done, cost me $790. I got lucky and I sold my board for exactly what I paid for, $280. Plus I sold my wife's 3070 at MSRP of what I originally bought it for, which is $595. To a friend of mine, so it was $875 total. So he got a good deal because it was the cars for his son. He was going to build an RTX build and probably break even, but then he got a 3070 for $595. Like, that's what I paid after tax. So I got lucky and I got this for $790. The Strix is gone, but that car would have been $950, and this would be a better value. But my wife's TUF, which you guys will see the review coming up, I basically paid about $800, give or take. Granted, it was used, but that doesn't really matter to me. So should you buy the Strix? It's really expensive. Like, you're not going to find a Strix for less than $950 for a while. So I would say definitely try to find yourself a TUF or a KO or something a little cheaper. Even though in my testing, the 600 XT does edge it out in most scenarios by a small margin, you do get DLSS, which honestly, I don't like that feature. I think it's cheap. I haven't really used it, I'll be honest, but I just don't like the theory. But it also has what everybody's seeing as better ray tracing performance, which I'm not showing here, but I will. So there's one game in my testing suite, Watch Dogs Legion, that does have ray tracing support, and I do test this card versus my wife's card. And a 3070, I actually tested that before I got rid of it. So you will see head-to-head on ray tracing performance, and I find that feature, while it's still in its infancy, and to be honest, performance isn't great on either platform, that could be a feature of the future that will eventually not have a big performance impact. So it's kind of relevant to talk about that right now. And honestly, you all mentioned that in the description or in the comments. So I kind of also want to talk about that, and I will be addressing that. So if ray tracing is really important, the 3080 is probably going to be a better buy. Stay tuned to my video coming up. And DLSS, like I said, I don't like the feature in theory, so I'm not really going to comment on that. But really, it's about getting the right card at the right price. Neither card is going to be a bad buy, but if like a 3080 is $150 more, or the 600 XT is going to be $150 more, to me, it's just not really worth it. So I would buy the best value as long as there's a feature set you need, and that's it. Like me if you like, excuse me, dislike, leave a comment, get subscribed, and as always, this is Steve from Big Head Tech, and I will see you all later on down the road.